And you always start on the dead portion and work in towards the living. But you can see this really stark white. See that really sharp white color. So I'm looking for that difference, because when you're in here in dead sections, it's really bland, right? Really yellow or beige. And then when you hit the live vein, it turns that red and white.
Smash my new fresh skin in my tool. Okay, I'm good.
Back. Yeah. Hold it here? Yeah, okay. Got that? Yep. Here you can see we've got two living veins on the back side of this tree. We've got this guy here that extends way out, far extremities of the tree. And then we've got this one in front that has a lot of foliage much closer, already in the front of the tree. So in order to do this work, we've got to untangle these two. We're going to bend this guy towards the front and close the distance between the foliage and the interesting part of the tree. We're going to turn this into deadwood here. We'll keep it long at first, and then we can always shorten it later, but we want to keep some of these interesting curves in case they add to the tree. So that's where we're headed. Alright, so when we chose the front of this tree, obviously this area is the most interesting portion. And we had to look at the roots and how the live veins interact on this juniper. So if we look at this main branch here, this is what we're going to use to build the whole tree with. Obviously this longer branch in the back that we're going to cut off too far out, bend it would look superficial, branches are super long. But the closer we can bring this foliage to this, the more impact this is going to have. If we want to use this though, we've got to be sure that these roots are headed in the right direction. Otherwise when we repot, we're going to have significant issues. So we see all of these roots growing down, and the major portion of the container being down here. We have a good chance that all of these are headed in that direction. This angle allows us to take advantage of this movement, bring that branch towards closer location to this, to ensure that our roots are in a position that we can repot this and actually have this tree at this angle once we style it in the next repotting. Pretty far out there. I doubt we'll use this kind of length, but at the same time, strapping the deadwood is pretty cool. So sometimes there's a necessity for flamboyant deadwood. Sometimes they're not. Be kind of careful how we handle this too, because the tree's so long. Anything that we do here, that force is magnified 10 times on that base. Just fundamental leverage, concepts of leverage. So when you work on really long trees like this, particularly junipers, you see people get in here and just rage on this tree. They don't realize what's happening here, but just a little bit of movement is torquing all those roots. We got to be really careful about that. Okay, and I'm going to go through and just clean out all the garbage that we've got here, being sure to preserve all my natural branches. But we want to use as much of this as we possibly can. Get rid of all of this garbage on the interior, weak stuff, stubs. Now's a good time. Know what we're dealing with. We made a major decision to remove this whole portion of the tree, which actually, once we removed it, it wasn't even nearly as significant as it originally had appeared. So, okay. So now we're just cleaning all this interior stuff up. You see all these weak branches. We want to keep anything on the interior that we can, because we're going to try to reduce this, but at the same time, when we bend this, in order to get this foliage closer to the base of the trunk, we've got to have a lot of length. So people automatically think, okay, we're dealing with junipers, we're going to shorten this, shorten. Well, the length is actually playing to our advantage and in our favor with these branches. to get the foliage closer to the point that we're actually going to build the tree. And I'll just go kind of slow because, again, this thing is super wobbly. So now the deadwood's taken care of, the live vein's taken care of. We've gotten rid of all unnecessary branches, as we can see for the design thus far. Now, one of the things that we've been considering this whole time as we've been doing all of this other work, cleaning and getting the tree prepared to be styled, is how we're actually going to move this portion of the tree. Originally, we thought we might bring it forward. We see here we have this deadwood that's dictating where this branch can be bent. I think a more effective place to bend this is actually going to be backwards. So we'll separate the deadwood. We'll bend this back towards the back of the tree, which we're going to try to put the apex right in around this area, and then use this big long branch to run out here and give the tree movement. So we don't actually know how far we're going to be able to push it until we do the bend and feel how everything works and stretches and moves. From there, we'll dictate how the branches play out in the design. I want to keep this gin. I want to keep this in front. It'll disguise this bend a lot better. As this tree ages, this will turn into deadwood on that fold, and it'll just be one continuous piece of deadwood. It'll be beautiful. You won't know that it was unnatural. But it's hard to keep this gin and do the work correctly on the live vein to thin it down so that it bends and flexes over a long space. You want the same thickness over the whole space. So we're going to do some technical stuff here. Okay, so I just turned 6 into 4. And even though this is 4 millimeters, not 4 gauge, 4 millimeter. This would be like 8 in Japan, it would be a 6 in the States. Right? For this, we need even smaller, even larger wire. But if we don't have larger wire, we can twist it, work harden it, copper work harden, and needle copper work hardens, right? That's going to give us a little more reinforcement. I'm going to hook this onto this deadwood. I'm going to run it up under this deadwood, around the live vein, and up against the interior of this. Okay? Now, once we make the bend and it's successful, I'm going to cut this so that we can't see this. Okay? But for now, this is the anchor that when we bend, it allows it to be supported. Alright? Sense? So see this edge here? Graphite is the same as wire. If I don't have an edge that stops it, then what's going to happen is it's going to slide and it's not going to apply compression. So this corner here, that's where I'm going to hook my raffia when I first start. So typically when you put this wire on, you cover this to brace the wire, but we're going to cut that here. So this point where this split stops is a weak point in this system. So we started the raffia back here so that we could patch this and make sure that this doesn't have any flexibility until we get to this wire. So we're binding this to the deadwood. Once we get to here, then we'll just be raffiaing this portion of the branch. Make sure it can't split out of our control. Then we've got control with the wire spines to support the bend. You ready? So this is a lot of resistance from right here. See this? Stress fractures here. We gotta figure out where this thing goes. Because that's gonna keep coming down. It's gonna wanna come across the front here, isn't it? So if it's gonna wanna come across the front, we need to bring it across the front. So we got Yeah, just keep going around.
Okay.
That's good. All right, good.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I think we're tight.
Yeah. So we put the wire spines in here to give us support. And you can see how this bend has occurred real smooth over this whole section here. So when this first started, it was a really soft curve following this gin. Now we've just exacerbated that curve, but we extended it over this whole section as opposed to applying it to one location. That allows us to have a really smooth bend. When you see this from the front, the bend looks even better, looks more attractive, because it doesn't occur as a loop, it occurs as a tight bend followed by a straighter line. And that's how you bend with success in terms of adding attractiveness to the bend and having it appeal to the rest of the shape of this tree, making sure that you get a bend and differentiation in the bend so it's not just one big loop.
All yours.
Okay. So here you can see the tightness of this bend here. So this is all natural, and remember, this deadwood is all attached here, right? We saved this deadwood so that we have a continuation of this. Now we've got this nice tight bend, even though it's extended over a long section. When you look at this from the front, this is really short, right? So it doesn't look like a loop. It looks very tight, followed by a longer line. So it gives it a natural appearance. Now all of this will be dead. It'll be deadwood, it'll be shari. The live vein is on the bottom portion of this, which has a really nice smooth arc. We feel really comfortable about how this bent, and now we've got a really attractive aspect to this tree to get this apex and all this foliage back over the portion of the trunk that has all the beautiful deadwood. So now that we've got this branch sitting in front of the trunk, we took off this upper piece of deadwood to make room for this to come across the front. So there's no way to avoid this being here. If we continued to try and insist on it being in the back of the tree, it would have twisted the live vein too much. And you never want to take a live vein that you flattened out and twist it. That's how you get fractures running vertically. Live vein comes apart. So we bent this in a straight plane, okay? That puts this branch here. As this folded back, it brought that branch up like so, and now it's sitting here. So we want to tighten this against the trunk and have a really pronounced bend right in this section here. We're going to do the exact same thing that we did here, where we're going to remove half the branch. Now we're going to lay this wire as a spine on the back side of this, and just use it to wire this tip once we've laid it along the length of this. So we'll hollow this, we'll lay the wire in, and then we'll apply raffia, give this branch the shape that it needs as well. Now I've got to be gentle with everything, right? We got this. Be careful.
bounced up a little. Do you want it closer?
Yeah, let's shut it down just a little bit.
Good.
Apex will be here. Combination, probably this. Lay this down as far as possible, which means we got to compact this whole side so the tree moves that way. Right? So we're going to smash this in, move that over, build the apex here, crush this down, pull down.
Yes. Yep.
There it is. See how that raised everything up and then pulled that in? That's what we wanted. Here we got the finished tree. So, kind of walk you through the design process. When we started this tree, we've got one curve here, 2, 3 at the top, right? When we bent this, we added a 4th. And when we styled the apex, by bringing the apex back towards the right side of the tree, we got a 5th movement, right? So you increase the dynamic of your design. You can always use this apex to add one more movement in the tree. So the apex moves with the main branch, the flow heads this direction, picks up one more aspect, one more little area of interest. Design-wise, it just completes the whole composition. The branches work within and around the deadwood. So you never want just deadwood and branches. You want deadwood and branches tied together. And we worked really hard to integrate all of these things so we catch accents of these without being fully exposed. That's what creates a good, complete bonsai. And the image as a whole now feels like a very large tree, which is what we were after. So one more final point, this little gin here at the top of this bin. Now when we did this, right, this gin added another, say, 45 minutes of raffia work and getting the wire spines in there because it was in the way. It would have been a lot easier to take it off, but now that it's here, it finalizes that and makes this look as if it should have happened, right? As opposed to taking this off and seeing this fully exposed as just an artificial bend. We've got this gin. Now once this heals up, we're going to have deadwood on the top of this bend and it's going to look like it naturally occurred as opposed to being artificial. So, there you go.